Somebody emailed me asking what my sussy reading was on this guy called Cole Hastings. I've never seen this channel before, but it seems like a men's self-help advice channel, and I'm concerned with men's self-help advice. Okay, right off the bat, I'm getting bad vibes from this channel. I tried doubling my testosterone naturally in 2 weeks, which magically led to Photoshop changing my body from left to right. Okay. How to stop being the weird guy, the tragedy of self-improvement. You will always be miserable if you don't understand this. The rise of NPCs, why critical thinking is dead. Okay, so it's a conservative channel. Okay, gotcha. How to unfuck your life. Okay, here's the thing, by the way. I know that conservatives and Dunning-Kruger syndrome are like a one-to-one Venn diagram overlap, but why the fuck would somebody who's making like fitness, workout, social advice also feel themselves capable of making a video on critical thinking? Like, why would you... Okay. What's Dunning-Kruger syndrome? Dunning-Kruger syndrome is when somebody disagrees with me. How to unfuck your life. You know what? Sure. This one has 1 million views. Big video. Let's go.
Your life is pretty trashed. At least I'm assuming it is if you decided to click on this video.
True.
You had a laundry list of L's pile up that led you down a deep, deep rut. Or maybe your entire life up until this point has felt like a never-ending nihilistic doomsday with a self that doesn't care about anything.
This is already like so overproduced. So this is meant to like appeal to younger people, I'm guessing. Usually I assume when I see a video that's really overproduced, I get the feeling like they're trying to hold the attention of people who normally wouldn't be able to for that long.
If I had to start from absolute zero and had no friends, no money, I was out of shape, I locked myself in my room all day, and I hated myself, how would I unfuck my life?
Okay, so the premise here is hypothetically, if you're a NEET, how do you get out of that? All right, let's find out. What does NEET mean? No education, employment, or training. It's just like, it just means you're a fucking loser. Okay.
You see, most people are just aimlessly wandering throughout life, hoping that they will eventually find their calling if they just keep doing what they're doing. Or even worse, they don't realize that if they don't pick their purpose themselves, then someone else will pick it for them. This is the first step to establishing some sense of control over your life, creating your own purpose. The night before I would start my journey towards leaving the rut, I'd write down exactly...
Right off the bat, I disagree. The reason why people have trouble finding their purpose isn't because they're like NPCs who just like float through life. A lot of it is because the mundanities of life, especially like economically, really prevent people from finding the time or the initiative to get the stuff done that they want. Also, it's really difficult to find your purpose if you haven't been given the opportunity to test out stuff that you're interested in. This is one of the reasons why when kids are young, it's considered like good for parents to try to get them into like soccer and pottery and like try a bunch of things, you know, because you never know what you're actually going to like. But if you grew up poor, didn't have much of an opportunity to try out a bunch of stuff, did the best you could in school, and now you're barely scraping by enough to survive, you don't really have much time to find out what you even like to do, let alone money to pursue it. I don't like the idea that self-improvement is about like breaking the mold and being better than people around you. It's not a combative thing. In fact, in a good society, self-actualized people would help other self-actualized people, and non-self-actualized people self-actualize. It wouldn't be about outperforming your peers. It would be about a shared network of communication and support that allows everyone to find what they enjoy doing and spend as much time doing it as possible. It's about cooperation, fundamentally. That's why social engagement is so important when it comes to like unfucking your life, right? Yeah, you don't want the rise and grind set bullshit because that stuff makes people miserable. Honestly, what the fuck is self-actualization? By self-actualization, what I mean is like you are aware of what you are and what you want, and you have the ability to pursue it. Like you aren't just doing things. You have like he says, like a kind of purpose, you know? You're living life in a fulfilling and meaningful way because you're aware of what you are, what you can do, and you're doing your best within those frameworks. Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy is one way to think of it. Like you meet your basic needs and then you can pursue the more like, you know, extravagant stuff.
I would take into account Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Oh, hey.
This is an idea...
It should be noted, by the way, that Maslow's hierarchy of needs is just like a useful way of thinking of things. It is not actually like a determined, objective way of framing human needs. People use it as kind of like a shorthand for some concepts. It's like Freud, you know? Freud wrote on stuff that you can kind of casually refer to in common parlance, but you wouldn't use Freud to build out like a big thesis on modern psychiatry because a lot of his stuff has been debunked.
Lastly, I just want to be more present, enjoy my limited time here on Earth, and know that I loved the journey instead of the destination. Then I would start to write down my new identity.
Man, I feel like making a checklist where one of the checklists is enjoy my limited time on Earth might be framing the problem in a way that makes it kind of unaddressable. Normally, when you want to get out of a rut, you actually want to focus on small things that you can do and can achieve, and you want to work out from there, slowly building confidence as you try to like you try to like establish to yourself you're capable of meeting these goals. Writing down a checklist where you're like, okay, I want to get fit, I want to be healthy, I want to have great friends, I want to be happy, I want to make money. It's like, okay, I mean, I think a lot of people want that, and that's good to want, but I don't know if writing... Oh, maybe. Maybe it's like a person-to-person thing, but it's good to understand what you can actually focus on.
Once you've prepared yourself for the journey ahead, you need to ask yourself, what is the next smallest step I can take to start moving towards that identity? The reason we want to do this...
I agree with that. Yeah, no, I think that's true.
It is not in your favor to try and think about every part of your new identity at once and to try and adopt each new habit at once.
Okay, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree.
And now let me show you this. Every time I complete something, no matter how small it is, that is getting me towards the identity that I'm trying to become, I'm gonna write it as a W on this board. So I already started off
Oh my god, this absolutely is for kids.
And I'm going to tally up a bunch of W's or L's throughout my day based on the actions that I do with my day, no matter how small they are, as long as they are pushing me towards the self that I'm trying to become, it counts as a W. So because...
Okay, I'm just gonna say this. I don't think this is necessarily bad, but I think that sometimes there's actually a downside to a over-gamification of self-betterment. Oftentimes, people who are depressive will not even be able to keep daily journals because they are too forgetful or too out of it, you know, to actually manage that. And I think it's important to develop on internal reward systems that don't necessarily require the constant upkeep of maintaining a journal. Because I think you'll find that even if your days are getting better, realizing you didn't log a couple of days in a row, in retrospect, can make it feel like the good things didn't happen. Like, oh, maybe that day was good, but like I didn't like write it down, or I didn't like mark my progress. So it's like it's not really part of like the gamified system that I'm using to track my betterment. And again, there's nothing wrong with the gamification. I just think it's important to identify whether that's something you can keep up. I, even when I'm not even remotely depressive, can't keep a journal for shit. I know for a fact that I'm not capable of maintaining any kind of long-term diligence. I always get my work done in bursts. I'll have days where I do nothing productive and just relax, and then I'll have days where I get an insane amount of work done, and I've always been like that my whole life, and I'll die that way. And that's fine. That's just how I am. But it makes keeping a journal impossible, because I would only ever write anything down during the days where I'm already doing really well, rendering it kind of pointless. Just understand what kind of, what kind of basket case you are before,
Another W, but I'm also going to put an L up on the board here because while I was writing the script, I used my phone a little bit too much and I wasn't totally focused on it. So I'm being realistic with myself and counting that as an L, even though it's really not a big deal. But still, we got...
I think this is actively bad. I don't think this pattern, this is performative. You're playing a little game with yourself here. I don't think this is actually about building better habits or patterns. The idea of somebody who's trying to better their life when they're already in a rut, like self-policing to be performatively down on themselves or to accept that they failed in some way because they were on their phone for a bit, is the kind of depreciatory behavior that keeps people in those ruts. In fact, radical positivity is the best way of getting out of basically any rut, because usually people who are in those ruts develop these like cycles of thought where they're like, oh, of course I didn't do that right because I'm a fucking failure, because I fucked up, you know? Like, oh yeah, obviously that didn't work out because of this, that, the other. When in reality, failure and not meeting your own expectations are not only natural parts of life, but something that happens to everyone all the time. The only people who don't experience that feeling are people who are like, I don't know, megalomaniacal, or people who have personality disorders. In reality, failing to meet your own expectations is a healthy part of life. But that doesn't mean you have to be negative about it. It's just like a thing to note, you know? Oh, I meant to clean the entire house today, but instead I cleaned like 80% of it. Okay. And then you just clean the other 20% later. Confidence and positivity are the keys to fixing any kind of long-term mental health issue. Well, I shouldn't say that. Not any mental health issues, but a lot of them. Most of them. Positivity is critical.
We're not focusing on perfection because perfection is the killer of dreams.
That is true. That is true.
So what is the dip? The dip is the part in your getting out of a rut journey where you start to regress a little bit. You're going to start to notice some of your negative habits come back.
Guys, if you're ever eating potato chips off your stomach, you need to stop, okay? This is literally like sitcom 101 depiction of person in a depressive cycle. If you're doing this, Whatever you're doing, it doesn't need to be this. Oh, by the way, learning how to deal with the dip in confidence is the best way to know how to diet properly, okay? Nobody sticks perfectly to a diet. 0 people do that. It's not possible. Eating is like the fuel of the engine that is your body. It's too important. Nobody is perfect with their diets, you know? If you mess up a little bit, the critical difference is this, okay? You're doing well with your diets, and then like you mess up a little, and you mess up a little, and you mess up a little, and then you realize like, oh boy, like I'm kind of regressing. And there are 2 things you can do at that point. You can take the depressive route, and you can go, oh, of course I'm regressing. I'm a failure. It was never gonna work, and fall off, and you ruin everything. Or you can go, mistakes are human. They happen. Let's go. I'll bounce back when I can. And you work to go back up. And the latter response is always the right one. The former is never the right one.
Each negative thought I have about myself or my life, I'm going to write down in this journal entry titled The Dip Thoughts. And some of the thoughts that arise.
I've heard that writing down depressive thoughts can be very, very helpful for some people. I've never done it, but I've heard it can be helpful, so I'm not going to diss it.
And eventually, you'll get out of that rut that you have found yourself.
Okay, I think we got the point of the video. This is just the wrap up at the end. This wasn't as bad as I thought. It's kind of negatively influenced by the fact that apparently this guy has like reactionary stuff broadly. I mean, I haven't watched these videos, but I'd be pretty surprised if I couldn't find things to criticize here.